I am embarking on the biggest, most meaningful project of probably my entire life. Hi, I'm Kayla. I'm a curriculum consultant and a skills developer for coaches and people leaders. And I believe that we learn so much from the stories that we read, the stories that we listen to. And as a teacher before, as part of my past, I was really big on using books to teach lessons and to learn from. And in my growing up, I leaned on books to teach me about life and the way people think and the way people move and making friends and all sorts of different things. And I've always known that I would write a book. And for the past decade, I've had the title of the book, the chapters sitting outlined, waiting for me. And not until the last couple weeks did it finally all come together. One of my favorite book series that I read as a kid, and I've reread many times, is Harry Potter. And one of the things that I love the most about that book series is that the series grows with the reader. So in the very beginning, if you are familiar, it starts out with book 1, Harry Potter's 11, and the things that he goes through in that book are things that like 11-year-old would go through, the things in his friendship, the things in his life. I mean, obviously he has magic and things like that, but the books progress with the reader. And so by the end, book 7, he's 17, there's so much more darkness, there's deeper stories, there's deeper things that he's battling and things like that. And so I've always wanted to write a memoir, tell my story in a way, but I want it to be powerful like this. And so what I'm attempting to do, I actually don't know that any other author anywhere has ever done, but I want to write a series that grows with the reader. When I think about the learnings in my life, they started when I was in first grade. So my book series will start as a picture book series, move into beginner chapter books, and move into young adult before I do my adult novel memoir. And I am so excited to create this. I want my life story, the things that I've learned in my life, to be something that other people who grew up like me in poverty with a family like I did can learn from and can see themselves like a mirror, because that's something I didn't have as a kid, and I always felt so other. And so I want something for people like me, kids like me, to feel belonging and understood and just seen, because once I started feeling that, I started feeling so much better in my life and more understood and more part of the world. And I want to share this both for myself, because I love to document my journey. I love processes. I love the how. I want to be able to look back at this, and also I want to share for friends and family if they are interested, but also for you, because I love the how, because I love the process. I know right now, whenever I go to do anything before I move to New York, we watch YouTubes on moving to New York, right? As I'm writing a book, I'm watching other people's YouTubes on how they wrote a book. And so it's important to me to be able to also share that process. So I'm so excited to be here with you, to share this with you, to do this big life-changing thing for myself, and have you come along. All right. We are traveling home to New York from our old home, Portland. And when I get on the airplane, I always get I feel like I go into a portal of creativity and ideas. And so I'm hoping the same happens, but for my brand new project on this flight. We have a good 5 hours, and I'm hoping my brain explodes with ideas for how to write a freaking book, because this is a brand new adventure and I have no idea. On the airplane yesterday, I went into a portal of thoughts, and this is what I came out with. There's a lot on here. Not me sitting here so excited about this project of writing my book series, and just kind of having this analysis paralysis of where to start and what to do. I think one of the things that feels so big is it's not just a book. And I feel like as a book, I'm like, okay, I would just go into characters and start thinking about the through line, the story, the plot, the arc, like the climax, like the resolution, all of those things. But it's not just any story, it's the story of my life. And there's a lot more than one plot line, basically. And also, I'm writing a book series, not just one book. And so today I ordered a book that was shared with me on how to write a book. And so that will be really helpful, how to write a novel. Hopefully that will be helpful. But there's a lot that I want to dive through. And I think what I'm gonna have to do is create this long image. Like I kind of started putting it together here. I think I need to create like this really long timeline to figure out like what characters in the beginning books, what characters later, when do they appear, what themes do I'm kind of looking at, like themes. What are the themes that I want in my story to be talking about? And are chapters going to represent events? Is it going to be like event based or theme based? And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. And then I went through and kind of wrote about my characters. There's me as a character, and the potential name of my character is almost Judy. Because in real life, my mom wanted to name me Judy and my dad said no. And that's how I became Kayla. So I was thinking about calling even everything just almost Judy. And then my mom, I'm thinking about, and then my sister and my younger brother and my dad. And it's like really when I think about the main characters, the main character that's going to be in the vision most of the time is me, and so many of the other characters are like surrounding me and often maybe talked about versus necessarily in it. And so I'm really, really curious about how to play that out. And also if I should name, because is it going to be fact? Is it going to be fiction? Is it going to be, and I think it's going to be fiction based on fact. I think I'm going to consider it fiction. And so I think I'm going to just like rename my siblings whatever I want, or at least like the characters that would represent my siblings. I'm wondering about the illustrations. Do I want to illustrate it? Do I want to do my stick figures? Is that like what I want to be part of this? But also, I don't consider myself an artist in that way. So I don't know. There's just so many decisions. And I think where I'm at right now is literally just still brain dumping. Like I love this, just brain dumping all of my thoughts, writing down my questions, writing out the things that I want to figure out. Are there going to be objects that are important all the way through? Like as I was looking at all my stories, cars play a big part. So I'm like, are there going to be, maybe it's like, maybe some of the young adult books, like I write them in like the cars would be like the parts or the chapters or things like that. And then it would be like the life that happens in there. So I don't know. So many things. This is so fun, but also such a big project. Like how did J.K. Rowling do this? How do people who write series do their thing? I just did a little bookstore adventure over here at East Village Books, and it really got me thinking about writing my own book. I had for the longest time thought that I would write a memoir, I would write something like nonfiction, something really truthful. And one of the things that I realized is, one, as a reader, I love to read fiction. I love to read realistic fiction. I love to read fantasy, like y'all know this about me. But the other thing that I realized too is the thing that I love about fiction so much is that they're underrated for what you can learn from them. Like when I think about Harry Potter, and the reason why I love it is because you learn so much about characters and character development, and characters are just humans. And so going through that bookstore and looking around really solidified the idea that I want to write a fiction book. So we are coming to the end of the first week of me being a writer, and funny, surprise, weird, I haven't written a single word of like a book yet. This week has been, since it's the very first week of just deciding that I'm going to start doing my book and now book series. I think I thought that I was going to go into this, I don't know, sit and like punch out all of these words and have some chapters or something to show for it. But really, this was such a fun week because it was just ideas, and it was just completing my vision of what this could be and getting answers and getting inspiration. And I think that now where I'm at and what I need to decide is how this is kind of playing out and what I've decided so far. And you guys have seen my notes, and I've been like so inspired every moment, capturing things, getting out of the shower, going on walks down by the river, at the park, things like that, at the bookstore. And what I've decided is there's going to be, like I said, it's going to follow and relay the lessons that I've learned from the life that I have lived, starting all the way down in first grade, moving myself through my life up until I've reached, really it's going to be from years like 6 to 26, because that's where I think all this really pivotal stuff and discovery has happened. And then from 26 to now I'm 37, that's where like my adult novel will take place. So there's going to be a picture book series, a beginner chapter book series, and then a young adult series. And all of those, I believe, will follow the same character with the same name. Now, one of the questions that John asked me was, okay, well, if someone reads like young adult, do they have to go back and read the picture books to understand? And no, they're going to be able to be like, all the picture books are going to be a standalone thing in themselves. Like, I'm getting inspiration from Elephant and Piggy by Mo Willems is my favorite by far picture book series. And so I want it to be like that, very simple, very to the point, very animated, but like a small event, like one event will be portrayed in each of the books. So there could be like 10 of those books. Then, and those will be like events where you don't have to understand those events to understand then the beginner chapter books, which are going to be like Magic Treehouse, Babysitter's Club, like different books like that. And then they will also be kind of event based, like getting through a certain scenario, getting through a certain thing. But each realm of my life kind of has themes. So the picture book theme, the themes and the issues that are going to be going on there, or I guess let me finish. And then there'll be the young adult book. And the young adult book, again, you don't have to read these, but if you were to read them all in a row, they would all make sense and you would see the character grow, but you won't have to read all of those. What I think I've decided is this. I was not sure, like in the beginning, I know I want to be a memoir, and I was always thinking of the adult novel. And I do believe the adult novel will still be more of a memoir, real life me, talking about processing all of this. And maybe I'll share the name for my, there's so many different ideas. But one of the things that I'm thinking about, the name that has been for my adult memoir has always been Before I Bought My Beamer. And it's about the life leading up to how I got to a place where I could buy a luxury sedan, right? Where so much of my life was impoverished. And as I've been taking notes, something that I thought was very, very interesting was that in my life, there's a lot of events that I remember that had to do with cars. Whether it was like my brother stealing and totaling my car, whether it was our car getting repossessed on my birthday, my sister being in charge of picking me up, and me sitting like one of those kids in the commercials, like waiting to get picked up from school on the curb, like until dark for hours or whatever. Like so many of these things had to do with cars. So I think when I write Before I Bought My Beamer, there's going to be that through line of cars. And I was wondering if cars will play a part in the whole series or not. And I'm not 100% sure about that. But one thing I'm thinking about for these other series, for the young adult and the beginner chapter book and the picture books, is that they're actually going to be a fantasy series, not just fiction, not just realistic fiction. I actually think I want them to be fantasy. And the reason why is because I think it would be really, really fun to create depth of scene based on my perspective and my emotions. So for instance, the town that I grew up in, which to me didn't feel like a safe place, was not a place that I loved, I could write and depict that town as a country or a continent where things are a certain way, like we're thinking dystopian, like in the Hunger Games or something like that, right? And then as I moved to other cities and other towns and other places of my life, I would move to other, like that would be depicted by the environment of my character. And so you will see the juxtaposition of me in each of these places and see that my life really changed seasonally by me making moves. And you will see that in the environment, like the environment will be depicted in that way. So that's one thing that I was thinking about. The other thing that I was thinking about is I, for a long time, have considered myself the black sheep of my family, where I'm very different than all my siblings. I'm very different than my parents. And I am thinking that it would be really, really neat to again depict that in a fantasy way, where maybe almost like a Gryffindor being born in a bunch of Slytherin, in like a Slytherin household, right? Like something like that, that's very clear, where all of these people have this similarity, all of these people are alike, and then there's this one child who comes and she has this otherness with her family, and then as she moves into this other continent or this other city or this other district, if it were like comparison to Hunger Games, then there is where then she would have like this otherness there. So that's what I'm kind of working with right now. And my biggest thought is, as I have this, I feel pretty solid. That's what I want. And one thing that I know is action brings clarity. So as I work on this more, I think I'll get more answers. But my next big question that I want to solve is, because I do want to start writing. I'm not sure if I will do it all on my computer or pen and paper. I'm very much pen and paper person, but that's also very slow. But as I start writing, where do I want to start writing? Do I want to start writing the picture books? Do I want to start writing the beginner chapter books? Or do I want to start writing the young adult books? Like, where in this progression of my life story do I feel most compelled to begin? And part of me thinks it's like the young adult books or the beginner chapter books, maybe the beginner chapter books. But I'm really excited about that. And that really is where I'm at right now. And I'm so excited to share this journey. I'm so excited to continue to like create this. Even being able to make this video helps my thoughts like kind of go in my head, and I'm gonna have to take some notes after that. But that's all for this week, and I cannot wait to keep you updated.